Hello again, Tommy here. We're back in my shop, and today I want to talk about relief cuts. A relief cut is what this is. You see the section is raised compared to the rest. In this case, I stained the background and left the cutout part natural, so I have a little difference. I like the ring pattern. I tried to incorporate that into the design. But basically what we're going to talk about is getting that relief cut. And here's another example. This one is, you got this the external part, then you've got this internal part, and you see it just slides out. And then I sanded these edges, and it slides back in. You can do all kinds of neat little tricks with that. And here's one that's a double relief cut. You can see I cut two different angles. So one would be inset, one would be raised. There's various things you can do, and what we're going to do today is I'm going to use the same pattern from last week with the goose and the heart, and I'm going to do a double similar to this one, do a double when I want the goose raised and the heart recessed. So what we have to do, you have to cut at an angle. You have to cut these, I think these were cut at a 2-degree angle. The angle allows it to slide out one way, but it won't go out the other way. It gives it just a little slight bevel on the internal piece. That's determined by the two things, actually three things, but the two main things are the angle at which you cut and the direction. And that's both critical, because whatever direction you're going, you have to go the same direction through the whole piece. You can't reverse, you can't turn around, because that would affect the angle of the cut. You got to keep the angle the same all the way around. Now, I like to drill at an angle. That's not absolutely necessary, but I like to drill at an angle, and at least try to match the angle the best I can when I drill the hole. And so what I've done with this drill, I put a little smaller drill bit because I'm going to make this cut with a number 3 blade. You can do it with a 5, you can do it with a 7. The thickness of the blade can affect how much it slides in and out, how much it raises or lowers because of the amount of material it removes. That's a very slight difference, but it does matter. So what I've done with my saw drill here is I have lined it out. What I did is I got this old phone set up, and I can see that the piece I'm drilling is showing a 1-degree angle. And I'm going to try to go for 3 degrees total on this. So I'm going to drill. So there, I'm 1 degree here, I'm 4 degrees there. So I'll have a 3-degree hole drilled, and I'm drilling as small as possible because it could be visible. And this one, I believe I drilled right there in that spot right there. It's not very noticeable, but it can be visible. Sometimes you may have to hide it, but it's also important to consider the direction of the cut and the way the angle is. If you want, as in this case, I want the goose to be raised in relief. So when you think about it, you need the front of the goose, the top of the goose, slightly smaller than the back of the goose. And to do that, you got to angle it. And in the direction we're looking at the goose right here, it's got to be angled in this direction, and that's the way I've got this drill set. You have to remember that when you go to the saw, so that you cut in the proper direction. Now the heart, I'm going to drill on the opposite side, which will give us a different angle. What I want though, right here, is I want the back of the goose smaller. The back of the goose larger. And so I'm going to drill this way, and this angle, if you can just look at the orientation of it, it's going to give us the back of the goose larger. So let's try to drill it where it's unobtrusive, if we can. Okay, let me get power. Hang on. All right, so we got power on our drill. We're going to try to drill this. All right. So we got that drilled. Now I want to drill the heart. So we need to think about what we're going to do here. So on the heart, I want to be the opposite. I want the top to be smaller. I'm sorry, the back to be smaller. So in that case, we need to drill over here, get the orientation on the heart like that, so it will slide down instead of, it'll come out forward, but it'll slide out the back, giving a lowered section here in relation to the goose. And that's what my intent is. So I'm going to drill on the other side of the heart. See if I'm lined up here. Okay, so here we go. All right, so that's what you got to be aware of when you drill the holes. When you insert the blade, it'll be at the right angle in relation to your worktop. So let me get this over to the scroll saw and get this camera set up, and we'll see if we can cut this. So here I am at my saw. I'm checking the level of my tabletop, all the way level according to the device on the saw. It's showing to be 1 degree. So I want a total of 3. So I'm going to add 3 to that. I'm going to release it here and spin it over. Till we have 4. All right. Now I'm going to check it with my little protractor also. Get my blade in. Tighten it down. So we have a tight blade to check against. Put the tension on the blade. So now let's check it if we can with our protractor. And I'm showing right at 4 degrees on the protractor. If you can see that. Showing right at 4 degrees. So I've threaded the blade through the hole drilled for the heart, which is the internal cut. I always start internally. What's critical at this point is the direction that you cut in. And I'm lined up to cut clockwise. If you look at the relation of the blade, the angle of the blade in relation to the surface is set in a way. This side is lower, this side is higher. To the left is low, the right is high. And what that's going to do is make the top of the heart larger than the bottom of the heart, which is what we want. I want it to be inset. It will slide out forward, but it won't go out the back. It will only inset to a certain depth and stop because it won't fit all the way through. So the critical thing is, this one I'm going to cut clockwise, so that when I go out to the goose, I'm going to have to cut counterclockwise, so that it'll be the opposite. And that's, you have to stop and look at it and think. This is an area I mess up more than any other. I think I've got it right, and then when I get done, it's wrong. You have to be very sure, double check it before you start. And you cannot go backwards with your blade. You can only go forwards. And you can't, I don't have any waste here to work in. And a relief cut, you just want one long, uninterrupted cut in one direction. So here we go, we're going to cut the heart. as we said, we want it to slide out the front. So we'll slide out the front. You can see it's got an angle to it. It won't go out the back. Okay. So there you see it's inset. It will not go out the back. It will come out the front, but it will not go out the back. So let me set up for the external cut and we'll work on that. Alright, so here we are ready to make the cut. That's where we take a look and make sure we're doing it in the direction we want it to go. As you can see, I've got it where it'll cut counterclockwise. I've got the blade facing the direction of my finger. So we're going to make one long continuous cut all the way around. Now in this one, I didn't put the bottom at the edge of the piece. You can do that. That won't be a problem. But I was just going to make one long continuous cut on this one. I was kind of doing it to kind of demonstrate a little difference. But here we go. We're going to cut this counterclockwise in one long cut. Get it out there and we see how it looks. So there you go. I pulled the pattern off of it. And see what happens. You get the duck sticking up in relief with the heart basically even with the background. You can cut that in various combinations. You can make the duck recess, the heart up, or have them both up or both down, however you want to do it. The critical thing is you got to be aware of which direction you're cutting in relation to the angle of the blade to get the results you want. And what I like to do on a piece like this is I like to take these, like I did on this cat right here, and relieve the edges. That's just kind of personal preference. And this one is not really necessary. As you can see, it's reset. But you can make some interesting pieces by different patterns and different ways of cutting. One of the problems I had with this is a soft wood. When I come around this corner, I didn't get quite the cut I wanted because it bit into the wood. You're cutting a harder wood, you won't have as much trouble with that. You can still see my drill bit a little bit there. You can do a little cosmetic work on that if you wish, but it's not really a problem most of the time. It's more a problem in a piece like this where you're recessed, where you're raised. It won't show as much. But up here you might have to do something to put a little sawdust and glue in that possibly. Anyway, this is just a practice piece, something to demonstrate. It's an easy one. It was a one single continuous flowing cut. You get into something like this, of course, it's a little more difficult. This has veining in it. We'll cover veining in another lesson. But you can see it took a little more time, a little more deliberation, and I had to move a little slower. This is a harder wood. It didn't dig in as easily. This is what they call cedar elms, also called Texas elm. It's just a junk tree that grows in Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas. But anyway, that's a relief cut. That's just the basic relief cut I wanted to demonstrate. And I hope this is helpful to you. And if you have any questions, if you created something like this, or post me a link to it, we'll look at it. I'm going to have a link to this pattern again in this description of this video. Yeah, you can mix and match with that and play with that any way you want to. So please hit the subscribe button and the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.